Hey, security world. This is Courtney Sparkman, CEO and founder of OfficerReports.com, and welcome to our next episode of Ask an Expert. In this episode, we'll be talking to a sales and marketing guru who can help grow your security guard company. Let's do it. Tammye, thanks for jumping on with me this afternoon. Really appreciate it. I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite a while. I'm glad we've got a chance to be able to do it. So I know you and how great you are. Can you tell all of our viewers a little bit about yourself and your company, how you got started maybe?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Courtney. So my name is Tammye Brownlee. I'm actually the president of Prime Proposal Group and also Prime Grants. Pretty much, you name it, I've written it. From DOD, Department of Defense, to government, to cities, to states, to municipalities, I've done it all. Pretty much what we do is technical writing. I write bids, I write RFPs, RFIs, RFQs. I even help my clients do business development. So one of the great things is if you're looking for more opportunities, you hire a firm like mine. We come in, we do the design, we do the writing, we help market it, we package it up, we send it out. And then we also try to increase the revenue. So we have the writing side, and then we also have the design side. So for a lot of my clients, especially in the security arena, I do a lot of flyers, a whole lot of flyers. We also do web development as well. So again, we write it and we design it and we help strategize for it. That's one of the things that really sets us apart from a lot of people who only write. Oh, one thing I do want to share with you. So last year, I closed over 93.1 million with 150 million in the pipeline. So that 150 million is still pending. It should come in within the next couple of weeks. Once we know, I'm still going to count that for 2022. Now, I feel like we're going to double it this year. So my goal for this year is to at least do 250 million for my clients.
That's absolutely incredible, right? So I've had opportunities to write bids, proposals for government work, and it is a tough job. And that's absolutely amazing. So let's talk about this proposal writing for a second. I've seen proposals from some of the larger organizations, right? And I'm not going to throw out any names, but they look like they were done on a typewriter back in the 1980s, right? That's the quality of the proposals. I mean, is that what you're doing? Or, tell me a little bit about how you differ from the ones that I've seen.
So we're a lot more innovative. It's funny because I do have some of the larger clients, the Fortune 100s, who actually have me ghostwrite, but ghost design for them because, some of the stuff is very antiquated. So what I do is to help, I don't want to say the little guy, but some of the smaller minority firms be competitive is we kick it up a whole notch, so from a professionally designed cover page to title pages, to graphs, to charts, you name it, we rebrand everything. So you can go from looking like an okay proposal to a proposal that's really competitive. Like someone should be able to look at your submittal and say, okay, they hired someone, right? Or they got someone to professionally design this or assist with it. And the thing is, because I have a writing background, econ background, a finance background, I'm a numbers person, right? To me, budgets win proposals. So I can take that budget and I can take elements from it. I can take the stats and the numbers and the quantifiable data and make it, look in a way that's so presentable that it helps sell, that client to whoever is reviewing that submittal or response.
Okay, so how much does the design really matter?
Now, unless you're working on some federal contracts where there is no design, they want to see those native Word documents. A lot of proposals, I would say 90% of the proposals allow me to actually get creative with them, right? So we can't use big font. Mostly you have to stick between 10 to 12 point font. Okay. You can't get crazy like that, but charts do matter, right? So I've had clients where they would actually have a lot of information hidden in a paragraph. And if that doesn't stand out, the person who's reviewing that may overlook it, right? So instead of presenting it in a paragraph, I present it in a table. I've had big RFPs, requests for proposals, where we've had multiple sub-awardees in on it. And instead of having all these different paragraphs talking about each, I do a chart, right? And then I actually visually show this is the percentage allocated to each partner. This is what they do. This is how they'll support the actual project. When you pull out the data and you make it very plain and clear, clean, professional, it does matter. It has an influence. So some people say it doesn't, but I can tell you it does. Because when you're looking at 4, 5, 10, 20, of these, the people who stand out are the people who have the most professional response.
That's right. And I mean, that's kind of what I found in my career when I was writing proposals. Because when you think about it, when there's a buyer who's looking for security guard service and they're receiving 15, 20 proposals, right? They're going to glance over just a lot of stuff, right? So having the right format, which makes stuff just kind of jump out and pop, really helps set that security guard company above the rest, right?
It's a competitive advantage. Now imagine telling someone what your uniform looks like and then showing them, telling someone, hey, I have these vehicles and this is what they are, or showing them. So if there's amber lights that should be on a vehicle, I put amber lights, I Photoshop them onto your vehicle until you get them, right? When you win a contract, you'll have them. But it's creating, I call it an impression of increase, right? So even if you don't have the vehicle yet, we can get the vehicle and still put your decal on it. You win a contract, you buy the vehicle, right? So it's just kind of visually showing, what your intention or what you can actually add to that particular project.
Got it. Got it. So circling back, you were talking about some of your clients. So are you just working with the Fortune 100s? I mean, what's your client mix look like?
So it's very interesting. My avatar or my perfect client, it varies, right? So there are startups who contact me. Now, for a startup, you really have to be determined. You really have to be professional. You really have to know how to follow direction. Startups are not my favorite, right? Typically, the clients who I work with are established. Many of them are already at that $1 million mark or more, or they have the ability to get, to that 7-figure mark or more. Now, I work with a lot of minority firms, a lot of small businesses, a lot of medium-sized businesses. Like I said, a lot of the larger clients that I have who are the Fortune 100, I ghostwrite for them, right? So I can help anyone from women to veterans, you name it. But I like to work with a client who understands what we're trying to do. I do write proposals a little differently, right? There are some people who go off a template and it's just one long Word document. I kind of break it up and do it a little bit different because what I'm trying to do is to save us time in the future, right? So if you write one proposal response for a client, we should be able to rinse and repeat that time and time again and kind of cherry pick the elements that we would need for a future submittal. So that's what I'm doing. So we might have one attachment for qualifications, one attachment for past performance, one attachment for references, one attachment where we actually talk about our staffing plan, things like that. Now, if you have a bid that requires that, we have that attachment, right? We have that individual file. If you have a bid that does not require it, don't add it, but we don't have to do a lot of deleting. So it's kind of putting the pieces of the puzzle together is how I do it for my clients. And that's how it's just a little bit different. And from small businesses to corporations, they appreciate that. And it literally saves us time in the future. So there's no particular client that I like better than the others, but we have to be able to work well together. You have to be able to move and be quick on your feet because sometimes I do require a lot.
Right, that's fair enough. So it sounds like you would have to be a little selective. How many inquiries are you getting, per month from security guard companies or companies in general?
Oh my God, I can tell you about 40 to 50 a week, if not more. So today is what, the 13th of February. Last week, I had to shut my website semi down and let people know that I can't take new requests until April, beginning of April. So there's a lot more demand than supply, but I am able to accommodate people who are, here's the thing, I'm not going to write it unless I know we can win it, right? Mm-hmm. If I know that we have the chance to win this project, I may be able to squeeze in an extra project. But when people come to me and they have no experience at all, they're trying to go after like a large federal bid that we know that they don't have the capacity to win. I always recommend either you find a sub, or you team with someone to build capacity, or I just won't write it, right? So I am selective when it comes to what projects I take on more than just the client themselves. Like I said, there are some projects where, yes, you can go as the primary, right? You can bid on it alone. But most times I'm getting people to team and work together. And we're trying to strategize up front to make sure that if I'm taking that project on, that we have a strong chance of winning, or I won't take it on. I'll turn it down.
Got it. So you're talking about partnering, and back when I had my security guard company, we were MBE certified. So two questions for you. First is, how do MBE firms or DBE firms use those certifications or leverage those optimally? And the second thing is, can you help these DBE firms with build a partnering relationship?
Absolutely, 100%. So I would say 95% of the people who have minority certifications who I connect with don't market their certifications properly, right? So if you have a WBE for women, a DBE for disadvantaged, ACDBE, airport concessions, or even an MBE, right? Even 8A. I see so many people who have this certificate or this letter saying they have this designation, and they just partner with the same company over and over again. They never branch out. They're just stuck with that one partner if they have that partner, right? So the one thing that I do is I teach people who have some type of certification how to work that certification. So I can't give all my secrets on this podcast, but I can tell you that there's strategies that I utilize so that we can kickstart and initiate those conversations for you to be able to engage a prime and become their minority partner or become their WBE. So attending those pre-bids, making connections, and I do something where I call it matchmaking. I matchmake clients and say, hey, I have a client who's going after this opportunity. Courtney, I think Officer Reports might be a good fit. And then I facilitate the connection between you and that particular client. I will tell you this, I have a much, much high success rate. My success rate is 68% for last year. Again, with 93.1 million in submittals. So 2 out of 3 plus of everything that I uploaded or submitted was awarded. Okay. And I'm not counting the small ones, because then I'll be really high. But then it'll be a bit deceptive because those small grants, some of those 5, 10,000s, they just turn into lotteries. The reason that my success rate is so high with minority certifications, again, is because I get people to work together. I encourage it. Nowadays, on a lot of the bid sites, BidNet, you name it, when you log in, now they have a section that says, do you want to subcontract, and list your information there. Where I have a lot of clients where they'll go in that area, they'll list their information. That's not enough. You got to find out who's going to be the prime. You got to reach out to them. So that's where the flyer comes into play. A letter of intent asking to engage them in a conversation and then following up with that conversation. So again, I can give you a success story. I had a client, WBE, never had any partners, didn't make a lot of revenue, wanted to work her minority certification. I had her do the same strategy, contact every single person in the pre-bid, send them this flyer, ask to schedule a meeting or call, and it resulted in about 5 different entities writing her company in. One of those 5 win, she wins, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that's the benefit, is that they need her, but at the same time, she needs them. So it's kind of marketing yourself out there.
That's amazing. So what you're talking about right now is not really proposal writing. It's more strategy oriented. So, do you normally engage with your customers around strategy? And if so, what does that look like? And what other services, is it that you offer?
100%. So when I'm writing a price proposal, I have a very few number of clients who do their own pricing. I would say about 90% of my clients for pricing, we're working together. I'm researching last contracts that were awarded. I'm submitting FOIA requests if we have enough time. I'm looking to see if there's been federal contracts that have been awarded. I'm doing whatever I can to research, what this bid has historically looked like. Now, if we can't do a FOIA, right? If there's no contract that we can find, we Google and there's nothing that we can find. We ask, there's nothing they will give us. The one thing I do is I look within other states. I look for similar opportunities, right? So if you're in Chicago and a security bid has come out with City of Chicago, well, Detroit probably had a similar bid. How did they price it, right? So I help do that type of research where we can gauge what makes sense. The biggest problem that I've seen with a lot of companies is they underbid, so they bought the contract, now they're in the hole, or they
Mhm.
overbid and they never win anything because they just don't know how to price it. So it's us putting our minds together and adding the research to determine what is our sweet point, what is our price point. Now, another strategy that I do, I'm not going to get too far in depth because I'm going to give away all my secrets on this
Fair enough.
podcast, but I explain what needs to be explained in the price narrative, right? So I've seen price proposals or cost proposals from clients, and they're over explaining. If they don't ask what your markup is, you don't tell them. That's your business, right? But if
Mhm.
they ask, then we tell them. But I always explain why. So I've won bids where we priced it really, really high. We still won because we justified that price, right? So if gas prices are high, I'm saying here's the gas prices in Miami. Here's the gas prices in Chicago. Here's the gas prices last year. The prices have doubled. So our bid is double. You see,
Yeah.
if insurance has increased, I explain that and we provide proof. I cite the sources, and they began to see with that narrative, even though they didn't require it. I see why they're pricing. I see why they're pricing this at $45 instead of 25. And then I make a case against our competitors and I say, most people would probably price this at 25. We price it at 45 because of this and how it creates value, for either the funder or the person who's releasing that bid. When you begin to do those type of things, go a little bit above and beyond, the results come from that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So your findings are that buyers of security guard services aren't typically, well, I'm not going to say aren't typically, but don't necessarily always take the lowest price bid, right? So there are buyers out there who are looking just for good service. I mean, is that kind of the take on that?
100%. Unless it's a federal bid where lowest cost wins, I still explain. Every price proposal, I always explain. If you're paying someone to write for you, the writing shouldn't stop when you get to the price proposal. You just got to be careful what you share and how you frame it, right? I
Yeah.
always justify the price and then I'm selling it, right? To me, that's my favorite part because at heart, I'm a saleswoman. We're all salespeople, but it
Right.
depends on what you're selling, how you know how to sell it, right? How you know how to package it. So
Mhm.
for me, my best writing is that price narrative or that cost proposal. I always include, something in there about us being fair, the best value, for your money and how we're qualified. So I'll give you an example. If you have a team of very experienced, seasoned, and qualified people, the price for experienced person is much higher than it would be to hire someone, with no experience, right? Or entry level. So if I was to have a security bid and you want armed officers, well, if I have armed officers who are all part-time police or retired law enforcement or veterans, the cost for a veteran or an officer is much higher than someone who just has an armed license. So I explain that. And when you break it down like that, you really help them understand the logic behind your pricing. And I
Okay.
think that's a huge opportunity for a lot of people.
Got it. So as we're talking about the parts of a response or proposal, right? So you name cost. What would be the other two important sections for a security guard proposal?
Number one would be past performance and the way that you articulate it with numbers, charts, graphs, quantifiable data is number one. Number two would be methodology. To this date, I've only met one client who was able to showcase a methodology that works, right? So if your officer reports, it needs to be the officer reports ABC method and be able to explain that. A lot of people lose money in the rubric when their bid is being graded because they don't have a methodology. That's number two. The most important of all three, because I actually lost a bid for this particular reason, is technology. Oh my gosh. And it broke my heart. So I'll tell you this. Apply for a bid. It was for a school district. And I was 100% confident that we were going to win that bid. I asked for a debriefing and I asked them, why did we not win? And they said, because there was no technology written into the bid. The other person, although their bid response did not look anything like yours, their entire bid was about the technology, the innovative side of what they do. From that point forward, I never ever skipped out on the technology part. you know. So being able to not just talk about technology innovation, optimization, how you are able to track success, it's not enough. You have to show it. So believe it or not, I've written officer reports in quite a few bids, and I put a flyer in there explaining the features, the benefits, how your technology works with our particular SOPs, standard operating procedures, how we streamline operations, how we report. That's how you win bids. That's the secret sauce right there, is the technology.
Yeah, that's hilarious because that's actually how Officer Reports got started. I was thinking about starting Officer Reports, and we put out a proposal. We were bidding against Securitas, and I mean, I thought we had it won. I'm like, oh, this is ours. And the buyer came back and said, hey, what technology do you have? Because Securitas has this thing. And I'm like, oh, I guess we're about to lose this one. Right. So I've absolutely seen that before.
Makes the bid packet look even cooler. Instead of you saying that we track it this way or that way, or these are our procedures, for us to say, look, we have a dashboard, and show the dashboard and then explain how it meets the requirements of that particular solicitation. That's what they're looking for. So even when my clients get to the point where they're at the next stage and they're interviewing, the big part of that interview presentation, we're talking about technology. And sometimes I even tell them to bring in someone like Officer Reports into that meeting so that you can show them the technology or demo it in the presentation. We've blown away, people who had bids out there just by showing the technology and demoing it in real time, and maybe just taking 5 or 10 minutes to do so. So to me, the more creative you get, the better it is for the end user.
So you mentioned the presentations, right? So typically, proposal goes in, oh, we need to cut back and see who we're going to select, and the buyer will bring in people for presentations. Do you help with that bit of the sales process, the presentations?
Absolutely. The worst thing ever is to have this beautiful RFP response, right? This beautiful bid packet. And then it's time to actually meet them in person or virtually and do a presentation. And then the presentation looks like PowerPoint 1999, right? So I do design the actual presentation files, and I do it in a way that's highly stylistic, but selling, right? So we're guiding them towards what we want to guide them towards. Now, sometimes they'll give you a list of questions. They have particular questions they want you to answer. Well, we're going to answer their questions, but at the same time, we're going to subliminally sell them on how you are the best candidate. And then that goes back in. We always find a way. We even asked, no one has ever said, no, I don't want to see your technology. So we say, hey, we have our technology. Want to demo it for you? Can we show you what we're talking about? They always say yes. And they always appreciate it. And then they can see firsthand, oh, okay, that's how you track a guard. Oh, that's how they submit an incident report. It's that easy. So the easier we make it, the more design that we put behind it, the more professional, we get better results.
Got it. And which makes all the sense in the world. So in terms of the way that you engage with your customers, right? So it sounds like it's the proposal, it's the presentations, brochures, website, because all of that is, important to, I guess, the brand of who you're trying to be as a company in general. How do those customers engage with you? So do they have you write every proposal? I mean, do you sign a contract that says, hey, any proposal that you ever do, I have to do it, or what does that look like?
To be honest, I really don't want to do that. I do want to empower my clients where we've written a few together. They should be able to take what we've done and rinse and repeat it. But I have a lot of clients who just are not writers. They don't want to write. They say, hey, Tammye, I have an opportunity here. Or I come to you and I say, I have an opportunity for you. Let me know what you think about it. And they're like, no, let Prime take care of this. I don't even want to be involved. So it's either way, but I can empower you. After we get a couple of these under our belt, you should be able to take what we develop and you should be able to just tweak it, change the name, change the date, change the pricing. Much else should not change, right? Now, your operations plan that a lot of people don't include in their bid response, it should change because that should be according to the submittal requirements, right? The proposal requirements. If they want you to do something in their scope of work, you should be able to say in your own words how you would do it. A lot of people copy that scope of work. Don't do that. That's the worst thing you can ever do, right? In your own way, right? Articulate that. But again, I have some clients where it's do this for me 3 times, and then I have some clients that do it for me forever. Either way, it's fine for me. My problem again is I do get bandwidth issues. I get backed up a little bit. So then that's when I begin to pick what is the best use of all of our time, right? So I'll give you an example. If a Chanel store has a bid and they want one security guard versus a DoD bid that's $150 million for 5 years, which contract am I going to write? I'm going to take the DoD 50 million, So I'm very honest with my clients, but at the same time, I empower them. If it's something I can't take on, I give them strategies and feedback on what they need to do to get it submitted. I'm still helping them any way that I can.
Okay. So you just mentioned something else. You said that you bring your customers opportunities. Okay. So you provide a business development service as well, it sounds like.
In a way, yes. So it's more opportunity research is what I call it. So I am subscribed to every bid site known to man. I spend hundreds of dollars a month. I wake up in the morning, literally, I live in Miami, so I get a cortadito, I drink my Cuban coffee, and I'm going through the list of bid opportunities, and I'm sending them out all day long to people who I think are the best fit for them. Now, I also have clients who send me opportunities. When you send me an opportunity, I'm not going to write it just because you want to pay me to do it, right? I'm looking at it and I'm seeing, can we go for this? Can we win this? What do we need to do to win it? Do we need to build a team? So a lot of times it's a discovery call or email where we're strategizing if that opportunity is worth our time. And a lot of times too, it's me saying, hey, Courtney, did you know City of Dallas is looking for arena security?
Okay.
Hey, this is out there. Now, there's also times where I get more than one client who want to go for that arena security. Right? Mm-hmm. What I do is I have full disclosure. I let you know, hey, I'm also writing this for 3 other people. Do you still want me to write it? 100% of my clients always say yes. And then I let them know, I don't have to do your pricing. You can do your own pricing. I can write it for you. I do pricing for the first person, but like 95% of my clients still want me to do the pricing, right? So I have something that's like a conflict of interest disclosure that I send out, believe it or not, to everybody. And I say, hey, I'm writing this for 3 people. You know it. It's full disclosure. So if I'm doing pricing for multiple people on a single bid, that's where integrity and trust comes into play, right? Yeah. I don't influence the decision. So if I'm working with a client and just say you price it at 30, someone prices at 40, somebody prices at 50, I would never say you have to price this at 30 or you should price this at 50, you're going too low. It's on you at that point, so it's limited what I can do based on how many people I'm writing that opportunity for. Sometimes if the opportunity is so much work, I may be able to only do it for the first person, but then I can give guidance to the other people who may be interested in going for it. It really is a case by case basis with each opportunity. And it's funny, I'm glad you asked that too, because there's some people you talk to who are technical writers. They price a bid before they see it. For me, I can't. I have to price it according to the level of effort or LOE. The more work, the more you have to pay. The less work, the less you have to pay. So I cannot give a quote for a bid until I actually see the requirement.
In having this conversation, you've detailed some of the specifics about what goes into a proposal, and it's a lot. I would never want to go back to that life again. I'm hiring you anytime I need to get a proposal done. But do you also offer assistance with having people understand how to write a proposal, master classes, any of that type of stuff?
Now, here's the one thing. Because I'm so busy, I'm not an instructor, right? But at the same time, I do give guidance as much as possible, right? I get clients who come to me and they have questions. There's times I'm able to answer those questions, and then there's times where we have to focus on the end result. Right? So there's some things as a business owner that you need to know. And then there's some things that you have to delegate and get someone else to do to move them along quickly. Right? So if somebody wants to know what CAGE stands for and SAM CAGE code, I don't teach what CAGE stands for. You can Google that. But if somebody wants to know, how to price this bid, where can I find the last contract? What time is the pre-bid submittal and who should be in it? And what do I have to do to partner with somebody? What should be included in a cover letter? Those are questions that I'm happy to answer. So I'm pretty responsive with my clients, but at the same time, if they need additional guidance, I'm going to do those master classes quarterly, right? So every 4 months or so, I'm going to offer that to give people a little bit more insights, information in terms of what it is that I do, right? And I actually talk about that in my ebook, doing things in a certain way. Why is it that someone like me can submit a bid and win it every single time, and then someone else can submit a bid and never win, right? Obviously, there's something that I'm doing that's a little different than what other people are doing. And people need to know this so that they can actually grow their companies and grow their revenue.
So this has been great, right? And I know a lot of people who are watching this video right now are going to want to contact you to engage and start the conversation. How do people go about finding you?
The easiest way is to go to my website. I'll give you the long URL and the short one, primeproposalgroup.com or primegrants.org. You can go online, you can submit a request. Actually, if you say that you were referred by Officer Reports or this particular podcast, I always give an incentive. So I give like 10% off, to anyone who would come from you as a lead source. But you can find me on my website. That's the easiest way to get in contact with me. And again, when someone says that they've been referred by someone who I have a partnership with or have a great relationship with, I expedite those requests because I get so many, which is great, right? But I'm able to expedite those requests as well. So if you came from Officer Reports, we have our eye on those particular opportunities.
And we appreciate that. And all of our customers will appreciate that because we're sending everybody to you.
And I'll send them back.
Excellent. Hey, Tammye, well, this has been absolutely great. Thank you for being such a fountain of knowledge. Really appreciate it. And again, we'll talk soon. Until then, good luck.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.